There are days when nothing seems to go the way you planned. The alarm doesn't ring, someone spills juice on the clean laundry, you can't find your car keys, and somehow you feel like you've already failed and it's not even 9 in the morning. I've had mornings like that. I've stood in the kitchen, still in pajamas, trying to be the calm in everyone else's storm, while inside, I was barely holding it together. And if I'm being honest, I used to think that those days meant I wasn't doing enough, that maybe I wasn't enough. But over the years and through a lot of messy, real-life moments, I've come to learn something different. The truth is, some days are just messy. That doesn't mean your life is broken. That doesn't mean you are. It simply means you're human. We live in a world that praises productivity, hustle, and having it all figured out. But real life, especially when you're raising children, navigating relationships, working, worrying, trying isn't tidy. And the older I get, the more I realize peace doesn't come from controlling every detail. It comes from learning to breathe through what you can't control. It comes from choosing to show up with grace, even when the day doesn't feel beautiful. So if you've ever found yourself in a moment where the dishes are piling up, your patience is worn thin, and your heart feels like it's quietly breaking, this message is for you, not to fix you, but to remind you, you're already doing better than you think. And even on the messiest days, you are still worthy of kindness, especially your own. Number 1, stop trying to fix everything right away. For so many years, I believed that being a good woman meant being in control. If something went wrong, I jumped to fix it. If someone was upset, I took responsibility. If the day didn't go as planned, I tried harder the next day, harder to organize, harder to smile, harder to keep everything looking perfect on the outside. But the more I did that, the more I realized I was constantly running on empty. I was exhausted. And worst of all, I felt like I was failing at something no one had actually asked me to do, be perfect. There was a time when I thought love meant proving I could hold it all together. Now I know it means allowing myself to fall apart and still be worthy. I remember one evening nothing huge had happened, just one of those long, ordinary days that left me drained. The boys were loud, dinner was late, the laundry was overflowing, and I could feel my chest tightening from all the pressure I was quietly carrying. I looked in the mirror and didn't recognize the woman staring back, not because I looked different, but because I was no longer present in my own life. That night, I gave myself permission to stop fixing. I let the laundry sit. I didn't reply to the emails. I sat on the floor with my youngest son and let him read to me, slowly, word by word. And in that moment, something softened. The house was still a mess. The problems were still there, but I wasn't. I was choosing peace over performance. That's what I want to share with you. When life gets chaotic, you don't always need to fix everything. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do is pause. Let the mess be there without rushing to erase it. You don't have to find the lesson right away. You don't have to bounce back instantly. You don't even need to look strong. You just need to stay soft, to breathe, to let yourself be human. This shift in mindset didn't happen overnight, but it began when I realized I wasn't failing. I was just tired. And there's a big difference between those two things. So the next time your day unravels and your instinct is to panic, to clean, to repair, to control, just stop, just for a moment, and whisper to yourself, it's okay if I don't fix this right now, because peace is not a reward for having it all together. It's something you're allowed to choose, even in the middle of the mess. Number 2, speak kindly to yourself, especially when you're struggling. I used to be so hard on myself. If I forgot something, if I made a mistake, if I snapped at someone I love, I would replay it in my head for hours, sometimes days. I'd whisper things to myself I would never dare say to another human being. You're failing. You're too emotional. You should know better by now. That voice, that inner critic followed me everywhere. And the worst part, I thought it was helping me. I thought if I was just a little tougher on myself, I'd finally become the woman I wanted to be. But that's not how growth works. That's how shame works. And shame never leads us forward. It only locks us inside a story where love has to be earned through perfection. One day, after a long week of rushing and surviving, I caught myself whispering, "I can't do this anymore." And something about hearing it out loud stopped me. I realized what I needed wasn't more discipline, more rules, more guilt. What I needed was kindness, gentle, daily kindness, like the kind I give my children when they're tired or afraid. I started small. I wrote sticky notes on my mirror with words like, "You're doing your best," and "Breathe, you're safe here." I began noticing how often I judged myself and intentionally rewrote the thought. Instead of "you messed this up," I'd say, "You're learning, and that's brave." Instead of "everyone else is handling life better," I'd whisper, "Everyone struggles, you're not alone." Speaking kindly to myself didn't erase the stress or fix everything overnight, but it changed the way I moved through my messier moments. It helped me pause before spiraling. It helped me forgive myself faster. It helped me show up with more presence instead of perfection. If no one has told you this today, let me be the one to say it. You don't need to be hard on yourself to grow. You don't need to beat yourself up to get better. You need to speak to yourself the way you would speak to someone you love, with patience, with grace, and with the quiet belief that even now, even in your lowest moment, you are still worthy of kindness. Number 3, your worth is not measured by your productivity. I grew up believing that being productive meant being valuable, that if I kept moving, kept checking things off the list, kept pushing forward, I was doing life right. And for a while, that belief worked. It got me through school, through my first jobs, even through the early years of motherhood when sleep was rare and silence was a luxury. But somewhere along the way, I started to confuse my achievements with my identity. If the kitchen was spotless, if the kids were well behaved, if the emails were answered and the laundry was folded, then I felt like I was enough. But on the days when everything was unfinished, chaotic, or simply quiet, I felt like I had failed. The truth hit me slowly. It came on a Sunday morning when I sat on the couch doing absolutely nothing and felt guilty for resting, as if stillness was some kind of mistake. That moment was small, but it opened a question in me I hadn't dared ask. Why do I only feel worthy when I'm doing something? That question changed everything. I began to notice how much I praised myself only when I was achieving. I'd say, "Good job," after a productive day, but say nothing at all when I spent time simply being present. So I started to redefine success. Success became listening to my son without checking my phone. Success became walking outside and feeling the air on my face. Success became showing up in my own body without needing to earn the right to rest. Slowly, I learned that my worth is not a scoreboard. It's not a to-do list. It's not measured in miles run, money earned, or boxes checked. It's something deeper, quieter, and already present, simply because I exist. If you've ever felt like you're only as good as your last accomplishment, I want you to know, you don't have to live like that anymore. You are not behind. You are not lazy. You are a living, breathing human being, and that alone is enough to deserve rest, joy, and love. Number 4, make space for rest. It's not laziness. It's wisdom. I used to think rest had to be earned, that I had to push through, perform, complete, and prove before I could finally sit down and exhale. And even then, the guilt would creep in. I'd hear the voice in my head whispering, "You should be doing more." Rest, to me, felt like a luxury I hadn't yet deserved. But the truth is, rest isn't a reward, it's a need. And when I began to honor that need, instead of judging it, everything changed. I remember one afternoon, the house was quiet for once. The boys were with their dad, and I had the rare chance to be completely alone. My instinct was to catch up on everything: emails, chores, errands. But my body said something else. It said, lie down. So I did. I curled up on the couch and took a nap. No alarms, no agenda, just rest. And when I woke up, I didn't feel lazy. I felt human. For so long, I had been ignoring the signals. I had pushed through headaches, swallowed back tears, smiled through burnout. But our bodies remember what we try to forget. They store the stress, the pressure, the quiet ache of needing a pause. When we don't listen, they eventually speak louder through exhaustion, illness, anxiety. Learning to rest isn't weakness. It's wisdom. It's a declaration that your health matters, your heart matters, your peace matters. Now, I build rest into my week the way I used to build in errands. I schedule it, I protect it, and I no longer apologize for it, because I've learned that a well-rested woman is a powerful woman. If you're tired, you don't need to try harder, you need to care deeper. Not just for others, but for yourself. And if no one has given you permission to rest, let this be it. Lay it down. The weight, the guilt, the pressure to always be on. You don't have to earn your way to softness. You can simply choose it, right here, right now. Number 5. Even messy days carry small blessings. It took me years to realize that not every beautiful moment looks like a picture. Sometimes, beauty shows up in the middle of the mess, in the unplanned, the undone, the in-between. I used to think that gratitude was reserved for the big things: vacations, achievements, perfectly peaceful mornings. But the truth is, those big things are rare. And if we only wait for them, we miss the small blessings that are quietly waiting for us every single day. I remember one evening after a long and difficult day. The house was loud, the dishes were stacked high, and I was too tired to do anything except sit. My youngest son crawled into my lap with his blanket and asked if we could just sit and listen to the rain. So we did. And in that moment, the storm inside me softened. It wasn't a perfect day, but that tiny moment was perfect enough. That's the gift of paying attention. When we slow down and look closer, we begin to see things we normally miss: the warmth of a cup of tea, the way the sunlight hits the kitchen floor, the sound of a child's laughter down the hallway. These are not flashy moments, but they are sacred. They are anchors. They remind us that even when everything feels out of control, there is still something to hold on to. Now, I keep a little notebook by my bed, and at the end of each day, especially the messy ones, I write down 3 small things that brought me light. Some days it's simple: clean sheets, a text from a friend, the smell of dinner cooking. Other days, it's harder to find, but I always do, and that small act helps reframe the story I tell myself. Instead of, today was a disaster, I can say, today had moments of grace. Gratitude is not about denying the hard stuff. It's about choosing to see the whole picture and remembering that even in the hard, something beautiful is still blooming. If there's one thing I want you to take from this, it is, you are not alone. I know there are days when it feels like everyone else is handling life better. Their homes look cleaner, their smiles seem brighter, their lives appear smoother. But what you see is not the full picture. Everyone has messy days. Everyone has moments where the weight feels like too much. The difference is not in whether you struggle. The difference is in how you speak to yourself when you do. So please be gentle. Be slow to judge. Be quick to rest. You don't need to figure it all out today. You don't need to carry the entire world on your shoulders. Some days are about survival. Some days are about showing up in small, quiet ways. And some days, the biggest victory is simply refusing to give up on yourself. You don't need to wait until things are perfect to be proud of who you are. You don't need to fix every part of your life to be worthy of joy. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are walking your own path, in your own time, and that is enough. If today feels messy, that's okay. Let it be what it island. Find one thing to be grateful for. Find one reason to smile. And if you can't find either, just breathe. That too is enough. There is no rush. There is no race. Healing is not linear. Growth is not a straight line. Some days you will bloom. Some days you will rest. And both are part of the journey. You are doing better than you think. Truly. If you're on a journey of healing and learning to love yourself more gently, you're already home here. Subscribe if you'd like a quiet space to return to on both the messy days and the magical ones. See you again in the next episode.